Welcome to Voice of Stories. Discover tales that inspire, captivate, and bring words to life. Subscribe for unforgettable stories.
The rainy night that changed everything that evening promised serenity. I was curled up on the couch in our cozy living room, the rhythmic patter of rain against the window creating a soothing melody. The house, usually filled with life and chatter, felt unusually quiet. Michelle, my younger sister, was out with her friends, and her teenage son, Ethan, had retreated to his own world. The only other occupant of our peaceful haven was Sophie, our fluffy ginger cat, sprawled luxuriously on the couch like royalty. Sophie's half-closed eyes seemed to declare that she had everything under control, and her calmness brought a small smile to my face. It was rare to have such a tranquil moment to myself, and I planned to savor it. After a light dinner, I decided to indulge in a hot bath, my favorite way to unwind. Sophie, as if reading my thoughts, followed me to the bathroom, settling at the doorway with a soft meow that felt like her approval. I smiled, comforted by her familiar presence. As the warm water filled the tub, I turned the lock on the bathroom door, more out of habit than necessity. The house was empty after all. Sophie gave me a look that seemed to say, "Why lock the door? It's just us." Ignoring her silent protest, I sank into the water, letting its warmth dissolve the day's worries. The sound of raindrops against the windows and the soft glow of candles created the perfect ambiance. My eyes drifted shut as my mind wandered far from the present. But then, a faint creak broke the silence. It was subtle, like someone stepping lightly on the wooden floor outside the bathroom. My eyes snapped open. I told myself it was probably just the old house settling, but my heart quickened nonetheless. Moments later, another sound followed. Soft, deliberate footsteps approaching the bathroom door. A chill ran down my spine. It must be Sophie, I thought, though unease began to creep in. I glanced at the thin line of light beneath the door. It was still, until a shadow passed across it and stopped. My heart pounded. I could hear faint breathing on the other side of the door, slow and rhythmic. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice betraying my nerves. There was a pause before Ethan's voice came through, sounding hesitant. "Sorry, Aunt Claire, I didn't know you were here." Relief washed over me, but his tone felt different. I brushed it off and replied, "It's okay, Ethan. I'll be out soon." The footsteps retreated and silence returned. Yet the cozy atmosphere of earlier was gone, replaced by an inexplicable tension. When I stepped out of the bathroom, Sophie greeted me with her curious eyes, as if sensing the unease that lingered. I spent the rest of the evening convincing myself it was nothing, but the feeling stayed with me like an unwelcome shadow. The morning after. The next morning, I woke to the soft sound of Sophie's paws tapping across the hardwood floor. The sunlight peeked through the curtains, but the chill in the air reminded me of the unsettled emotions from the night before. In the kitchen, I found Ethan at the table, nursing a cup of coffee. He seemed unusually quiet, his gaze fixed on the mug in his hands. "Good morning," I greeted him cheerfully. "Morning," he replied shortly, barely looking up. Sophie jumped onto my lap as I sat down, her gentle purring a welcome distraction. The silence between Ethan and me was heavy, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. "Did you get back late last night?" I asked, trying to start a conversation. "Yeah, a little," he said, his tone subdued. His answer only deepened my unease, but I chose not to press further. After a while, he excused himself, muttering about a school project. Sophie followed him upstairs, her tail flicking with curiosity. The day dragged on, filled with chores and unanswered questions. Ethan stayed in his room, a departure from his usual behavior. By evening, I decided to make dinner, hoping to restore some sense of normalcy. Ethan eventually joined me, his smile hesitant. As we ate together, the conversation slowly began to flow, touching on school, Michelle's plans, and other small topics. But as I cleared the table, Ethan stepped closer, his expression serious. "Aunt Claire," he began, his voice quiet. I I just want to thank you for always being here for me." His words carried a weight that caught me off guard. I looked at him, surprised by his sincerity. "Ethan," I said gently, "you're family. That's what we do for each other." He nodded, a flicker of emotion crossing his face before he turned and left the room. Finding clarity. Later that night, as I sat in my room, Sophie by my side, I reflected on the day's events. Ethan's gratitude and the lingering tension between us left me with more questions than answers. Sophie suddenly jumped up and trotted toward the door, her ears alert. A moment later, there was a soft knock. Ethan entered, his expression a mix of hesitation. "Come in," I said. Ethan entered, his expression a mix of hesitation and determination. "Can we talk?" he asked. I nodded, setting aside my book. Sophie settled back on the bed, her watchful eyes darting between us. Ethan sat down and took a deep breath. "I've been feeling lost," he admitted. "Coming back home has been harder than I expected. I don't always know how to fit in." His vulnerability touched me, and I reached out to squeeze his hand. "It's okay to feel that way. We all struggle sometimes. You're doing your best, and that's enough." For the first time in days, his expression softened. "Thank you," he said quietly. As he left the room, I felt a sense of peace return. Sophie purred softly, her presence a reminder of the comfort found in the simplest things. That night, I fell asleep with the hope that, together, we could navigate whatever lay ahead.